Morning, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the ESPO Management Committee. The meeting is being broadcast live on YouTube and recorded and will be available for viewing after the meeting. Can I please ask all members and officers to have their microphones on mute until they wish or are invited to speak? I need to let you know that we're not expecting a fire alarm today, so if one does sound, please use the stairs to leave the building and convene on the field opposite the visitors' car park. Please follow the Democratic Services Officer. I've received apologies from Councillor Bensley, Councillor Kelly and Lauren Hudson, ESPO Secretary. Following members are joining us online: Councillor Jane James, Norfolk County Council; Councillor Mohammed Jamil, Peterborough City Council; Councillor Stephen Shaw, Warwickshire County Council; Councillor Hogg, Peterborough City Council. Members in the room, if you could just introduce yourselves for the benefit of people online, please.
Right, I'll give you a call back in 5 minutes. Is that all right? I'll give you a call back to the meeting. Right.
Hello, I'm Neil Garland, County Councillor for Warwickshire.
Hello, I'm Dan Harris, leader of Leicestershire County Council.
Hello, I'm Claire Edwards, Head of Marketing for ESPO.
Good morning, everyone. Neil Sinnott, Head of Commercial from ESPO.
Morning, everybody. Darren Green, Cambridgeshire County Council.
Hello, everyone. Robin Wyatt, also Cambridgeshire County Council.
Morning, it's Christian Smith, Chief Officer at ESPO.
Good morning, it's Gary Tapp, Commercial Financial Controller at ESPO.
Angie Smith, Democratic Services Officer.
And Simone Hines, Assistant Director of Finance at the County Council and Consortium Treasurer.
It's Councillor Harrison Fowler, Leicestershire County Council.
First item is the minutes of the previous meeting, which are on pages 3 to 10 of your agenda pack. I move the minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of September 2025 be approved, unless anyone's got any comments about them. Someone second that, please. Councillor Wyatt. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Those online, could you introduce yourselves, please? Sorry, I missed that.
Councillor Mohammed Jamil, Peterborough City Council.
Councillor Christian Hogg, also Peterborough City Council.
Good morning, Councillor Jane James, Norfolk County Council.
Councillor Shaw, you're muted.
Oh, sorry, guys. Yeah, Stephen Shaw, Deputy Leader of Warwickshire County Council.
Thank you. So item 2, have not been notified of any urgent items. Item 3 is declarations of interest in respect of items on this agenda. Are there any declarations? Item 4, items referred by the Finance and Audit Subcommittee. The following items have been referred by the subcommittee for consideration by this committee. Item 5, 2024 financial statements and annual governance statement.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this report presents the 2024-25 ESPO financial statements and annual governance statement following an external audit. So these financial statements, the external audit report, the annual governance statement and proposed dividend were all previously reviewed in detail at the Finance and Audit Committee on the 8th of October and were provisionally approved at that meeting. As they were previously reviewed in detail at the Finance and Audit Committee, I don't intend to cover in similar detail today, but provide a high-level overview and will be happy to answer any questions you have. A clean audit opinion was received. The external audit found no significant control weaknesses or accounting discrepancies, confirming that we have a clean audit opinion. At the Finance and Audit Committee, Tor Stringfellow attended from Williamson Croft Auditors, and they reported their findings directly to members. The auditors confirmed the information in the financial statements are not materially wrong and give a true and fair view of the state of the Joint Committee's affairs as at 31st of March 2025 and of its reported profit for the year. They have also confirmed the financial statements have been properly prepared in accordance with UK generally accepted accounting practices, and no material weaknesses in internal controls have been identified and no significant governance or compliance concerns raised. In 2024-25, ESPO achieved a 7.4 million trading surplus, which was a great result overall, despite the financial pressures on schools and public sector customers due to funding constraints, inflation and other cost of living increases, and the surplus exceeded budget by 0.3 million. The financial statements are different to the management accounts due to various statutory adjustments, with the main difference being the pension revaluation by the actuaries. ESPO continues to maintain a healthy level of net current assets, and following the warehouse extension build completed last year, and the building was valued at the end of the year, and I'm pleased to report that the Grove Park premises are now valued at 24.1 million in accordance with the professional guidelines by chartered surveyors and provided a significant uplift in value of the site. So following management committee approval, the financial statements will then be published into the annual report. And in terms of the dividend, each year ESPO pays a distribution back to committee members from the surplus it generates, and the dividend provides a valuable contribution towards local public services. After allowing for the allocations to ESPO's building reserve and general reserve, a dividend of 5.4 million is proposed, which is based on the management account surplus applied to the ESPO dividend model. The statutory adjustments, including the large movements in the pension scheme, do not impact the value of the dividend paid. ESPO expects to make the payment to individual members in December 2025 following confirmation today. The annual governance statement included in the pack also provides a summarised account of how ESPO's management arrangements are set up to meet the principles of good governance and how we obtain assurance that these are both effective and appropriate. The annual governance statement framework requires ESPO to review arrangements against its local code of corporate governance to ensure it's consistent with the 7 core principles of the framework. And the annual governance statement was reviewed by senior management and external auditors. It identified no significant concerns, supported sound governance and assurance for the approval of the financial statements. So in summary, the ESPO annual report and financial statements for the year ended 31st of March 2025 demonstrates a successful financial year for ESPO with a strong surplus position above the uplifted MTFS levels, despite some real challenges in the market, including inflation, supply chain disruptions and budget pressures on schools. ESPO continues to maintain a strong balance sheet, allowing this return of 5.4 million in dividends to member authorities to invest and continue to invest in infrastructure, including the warehouse extension. We manage pension liabilities prudently and continue to provide value for money procurement services to public sector customers while adhering to robust governance and risk management practices. So the committee is asked to approve the annual governance statements, the financial statements, and the dividend pool of 5.4 million.
Thank you, Gary. Does anyone have any comments or questions on that? That's fine. In that case, I'll second that if there's no questions from anyone on. Has anyone online got any questions? Yeah, I'll take that as a no. In that case, I'll second the motion. All in favour? Oh, no. All right, that's fine. Item 6 is Chief Officer's Progress Update, pages 65 to 80 of the agenda pack. Christian Smith will introduce the progress update. Christian.
Thank you, Chair. So as normal, same 3 sections in terms of the progress of activity at ESPO. Gary's going to talk you through the financial position and I'll pick up with the rest of the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Christian. So yeah, I'm going to cover the financial position to the period 6 year-to-date position to the end of September 2025. ESPO achieved a 6.8 million surplus after 6 months, which was £500,000 better than budget and 1.1 million better than last year. The British Educational Suppliers Association continued to indicate a worsening educational supplies market, indicating a 3% contraction of the market between January and September 2025. Despite the contraction, our trading activity has performed reasonably well, particularly in development areas where we've seen growth on last year in store sales through ESPO's competitive pricing offer and targeted growth strategies. So total sales to September 2025 were 52.3 million, and which was 2.7 million lower than budget. And that was mainly represented by 2.5 million lower store sales driven by the whole of market pressures. Although the total sales value is down, on budgeted margin levels have actually been positive at 32.9%, offsetting some of the lower sales volumes from the contracted market. So year to date, ESPO has achieved store sales of 35.3 million, on which it's achieved margin of 32.9%, and it's achieved direct sales of 9.9 million with a margin of 17.4%. Our rebate income continues to be really stable and benefits from a good contract pipeline. It performs well, benefiting partly from inflation, organic growth, and also continuous improvements in the customer experience. Our rebate income was 7.0 million, which is in line with budget and ahead of last year. And then in terms of our expenditure, our spend continues to be really well controlled and is 14.5 million year to date, which is 1.1 million better than budget. Again, this really helped to offset some of the lower catalogue sales driven by school funding pressures. The savings on expenditure is mainly driven by operational staffing efficiencies, vacancies across procurement and finance. So ESPO's costs as a percentage of sales continue to remain on budget. In terms of our ETL and EduZone businesses, they've had sales of 962k so far, which is 50k behind budget. However, margin and expenditure is largely better than or in line with budget, which has enabled ETL and EduZone to generate a 96k surplus across the first 6 months of the year. Year to date, ESPO has delivered a 6.8 million surplus, £500,000 ahead of budget, and we remain on course to exceed the full year budget of 7.4 million surplus. We're expecting to be somewhere between 7.5 million and 7.7 million outturn, and the committee is asked to note the update on the first 6 months of financial performance.
Thank you, Gary. So I'll pick up operational performance. You can see in September, we picked and dispatched over 172,000 order lines. And you can also see our pick rate was very strong at 33 lines compared to 32. Really good operational stats actually this month. Great stock availability at 98.8%. And you can see our stock turn at 4.89. Working really hard in the warehouse on efficiency at the moment, as you'd expect us to do, given some of the sales pressures. And we're looking at a project called slotting, which is about where you choose to place products to reduce the walk time for people in the warehouse, because obviously walking costs money. I'm sure you're probably familiar with this in other places. We've already done some things like super fast pick zones, but this is a real opportunity to look at how we maximise efficiency there. Also, in terms of operations, you can see we've purchased 4 new vehicles. 2 of them were electric and 2 were diesel, so we've got quite a nice mixed portfolio there. And our annual CPC training, which stands for Certificate of Professional Competence, has been undertaken for our HGV drivers. In terms of customer services, like last time, you can see some really impressive customer service stats. But rather than just sort of constantly celebrate them, we're now kind of turning our heads to what more we could do through customer services, because the call answer rate's so high and within 34 seconds. So some of the things I've got in mind are things like outbound sales calls. There's some capacity within customer services. We could kind of maybe add some more task in there to ensure that we're as efficient as we can be. We've got a fantastic FIFO rate at 96%, which we're very proud of, which gives a good indication on an objective way what our customers think of our service. We're about to participate in the annual Institute of Customer Service benchmarking survey that launches this month. And we invite our customer base to score us, as well as our internal stakeholders and our staff, and that then gets compared to other participant companies, and I'll bring that through to management committee when we get the results. In terms of facilities management, we undertook all our statutory inspections. Of note is working on the on-site heating and ventilation system, something that's been kind of long overdue, and we've got to that. That was something that we had feedback from the staff that was a priority, and we're making sure that that's as up to date as it can be. We had 2 health and safety issues to report. One was a cut to a forearm by somebody working in the warehouse using a box cutting knife, and a member of office staff regrettably slipped whilst descending the stairwell. In terms of IT, we have some impressive stats for IT in terms of customer satisfaction internally, but I will point out one issue of accessibility that's occurred on the 29th of September, which was traced to a cloud-based firewall server. The provider switched to another server to resolve the problem. We're used to enjoying fantastic availability, so if there's anything that hinders that, then obviously we'll report that, and this is one of those instances. You can also see we're continuing to work on our U-Secure cyber training with an impressive completion rate on that, and we undertook an annual system pen test, which the outcome will be brought to the next committee. In terms of staffing, we have 3 main issues of our staff sickness absence. The first 2 you'll be familiar with from previous committees, but I will just point out, regrettably, we have 4 colleagues at ESPO suffering from cancer, and obviously that is a long-term serious illness, which understandably they need the support. So that's now crept as our 3rd reason for sickness absence. If you look at the chart, you can see that ESPO's sickness absence has started to creep up as a result. There's a corporate target of 7.5 days. We're probably about a day over that. But we're working hard in terms of the case management of sickness absence and finding the blend between being very supportive and caring, but also making sure that that's also managed. We've also pushed quite hard our wellbeing programme, and you can see that we've undertaken health MOTs for staff and provided an on-site flu vaccination service for staff, and you can see the take-up rate in the report. We've also been looking at mandatory training for people at ESPO, and of note is the leadership and management programme we're developing, which will be for aspiring managers who want to go further in the organisation and get some really good general leadership and management training experience. So finally, Chair, it's just recommended that the committee note the update I've provided on the progress made since the last update. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Councillor Green.
Thank you, Christian. You mentioned a little bit about cyber training, and given this year we've seen several big companies have cyber attacks, Land Rover, Co-op. I just wonder if you could just, if possible, could you just say a little bit more about what the training aims to do and how it's progressing?
Yeah, sure. So absolutely recognise it as a major risk. It's on our risk register as a major risk for us. There's a couple of things we do to try and manage that risk. So we perceive that probably the biggest thing that can go wrong is human interaction and human error. So this training is very much designed about trying to, on an individual level, train people not to click on things they shouldn't and to have the right degree of skepticism. So U-Secure training is the one we chose, and that's why you can see nearly 97% of staff have completed it, because it's incredibly important. And what U-Secure does, it's not that sort of, we've all seen the sort of bland training. It's a bit more dynamic and interesting, and it's a key part of our strategy. A separate part is to do this annual penetration testing, which is, friendly fire, where people go and see if they can access things they shouldn't. And then if they find any glitches, they tell us and we can fix it before somebody who you don't want to find it finds it. So there are kind of 2 main strategies, but we talk about cyber frequently. Clearly it is a risk to all organisations at the moment. So that's what we're doing to kind of manage the risk.
Great, thank you. Sounds like you've got it in hand. You've got no results from the penetration testing yet, have you? Or
they have landed on my inbox, but I'd like to present them in a formal way rather than, there's nothing for you to be alarmed at, but I'll present them thoroughly and formally at the next committee.
Great, thank you, Chair.
Councillor Garland.
Thank you, Chair. I have 3 questions, but I'll do one at a time if that's okay. So first of all, out of interest, the FIFO score, that's obviously very strong. How does it compare to the wider market, the competition, basically?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the risk is to generalise, because all organisations have different batches of trouble. So, if they're integrating systems or they've had a merger. So it fares well. We often win the Platinum Award, which is only given out to so many people in FIFO. So it certainly fares well, but equally, I'm gracious to say kind of sometimes it's not like for like. If you have two companies merged and they've had 3 months of absolute trouble and the scores aren't high, but we're certainly very pleased with our score and keeping that platinum status.
Yeah, thank you. Second question, well, two questions actually, both relating to energy, no surprises there. So obviously good news that you're looking at getting the EVs. I just wondered, is the cost sort of thing, the charging sort of things on your radar in terms of trying to get best value for money when you charge the cars, sort of time of use, tariff, things like that? Because I appreciate, because I met the guys, of course, as Brother Neil knows, and they're obviously, we're hedging 12 months ahead. So obviously the wholesale energy part's locked in, but in terms of time of use, just wonders, have you looked at that in terms of trying to get the best value?
That's a tremendous question. I haven't, but we will.
And then finally, quick one. So obviously it's good to hear that you're investing in your staff and you're supporting with training measures, ongoing training. Just wondered, appreciate a lot of businesses certainly have control systems in place nowadays, but still people leave monitors on, they leave things on standby, lights occasionally if they're not controlled. Just wondered, are there any attempts to try and deal with that through any kind of campaigns coming up or training?
Yeah, another really interesting question. So how it works at ESPO, we're very lucky that we've got a 24-hour site. So what happens is somebody who's in a supervisory role in operations will go around and do a kind of floor walk and check. And we also have a health and safety manager. So the things that come up are the things you allude to, especially this time of year. People have, plugged in something perhaps they shouldn't, offer an adapter. And so they go around and check the safety of, extra Christmas things that have popped up. They also make reference to people who should be there, monitors that are not turned off. So we have that kind of sweeping system as our approach in ESPO.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Wyatt.
Thanks, Christian. I have a question related to the staffing and sickness and absence. So I note that there's a rise in the average staffing absence, which is, as you've explained, to that very unfortunate case of cancer. That's very sad. But besides that, what are we doing in order to assess and understand why the staffing absence is going higher? Is it just those 4 cases that are disproportionately affecting everything, or is there other wider trends within the workforce? And if so, what are we doing to help people in that scenario come back to work? And also, we have an ambitious target of 7.5 days. Is that what's the basis for that? And do we think that do we have a plan to move towards that, I guess?
Yeah, thank you. So if I do the target first, we're all employees of Leicestershire County Council as ESPO staff, and that is the adopted Leicestershire County Council target, 7.5 days. So that's why we've adopted it as well. Yes and no. Undoubtedly, having a number of people with cancer will push up your sickness because we've only got a small workforce. So, have a disproportionate about 350. So having people off, pull people off long term will have an impact on numbers. But I don't think that's the whole story, but it is part of the story. Stress, mental health and depression is obviously a big issue. We have 8 people currently who have been absent for that reason. What I always ask as a follow-up is if that work related or non-work related, and we have 1 person in operations where they have designated that to work, but all the others, it's just they've designated that to life, as opposed to anything they're experiencing at work. So I think that's something that causes sickness, and the musculoskeletal is a kind of reflection of we're an operations division. So just quickly in terms of what we're doing. So on the musculoskeletal, we have specialist lifting training, and I've mentioned before, but there's some ex-Olympian weightlifters who've got a training company, and they come in and show people how to lift. And I think that they get listened to more than like putting up a PowerPoint about bending your knees. So that seems to go down well. It's quite innovative, to be fair to the ops team. So that's what we do on that front. On the cancer, of course, it's a supportive environment. It's just being as supportive as we can to those colleagues who unfortunately are in that situation. And what we're trying to do with the stress, mental health and depression is look to the wellbeing programme. So some of the things we've done is we've had like weeks where we've brought fruit in for everybody. We've got a healthy conversations training being launched at the moment, caring through things like flu vaccinations and health MOTs. So we're trying to do what we can to understand and care for people. Although you haven't got the staff survey in front of you, I can report that over 94% of people said that ESPO was a good employer. So I think that's working. Again, you'll get the full pack on that. But, you know, we're taking it from multiple angles. But, yeah, sickness is something that we have to find the balance between the process, the governance, the case management, and obviously care and respect for colleagues.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Christian. We've got any questions from anyone online? I'll take that as a no. In that case, I move that the update provided on the actions and progress made since the last update to members in September 2025 be noted. Do I have a seconder?
Second that.
Yep. Thank you very much. Item 7. I confirm that the next meeting of the committee is scheduled to take place on the 25th of March 2026 at 10:38 a.m. Item 10, urgent items. As I said previously, there are no urgent items. So I move that in accordance with the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the remaining items of business on the grounds that they involve likely disclosure of exempt information. I have a seconder, Councillor Harris.